Hello and welcome back to Raised by Giants, where we talk all things spirituality. I'm Ryder Lee. Tonight we have returning guest, award-winning musician, filmographer, and UFO experiencer Micheal Lee Hill. But before I introduce him, Raised by Giants is on Rokfin. Go over there, set up a Rokfin account. I release one premium video a week over there, and it is less than a YouTube premium account. You'll get all of my premium content when it gets released and all of the other creators' premium content as well. Check the link in the description to sign up for the video streaming platform Rokfin. Also, if you would like to make a donation to help the channel grow and produce more content, you can donate on PayPal or buy me a coffee to help support my work. It is 100% completely optional, but is unfortunately the only alternative other than monetizing. And we know what happens to channels like this when monetization gets involved. And I want to keep this channel. I like being here. So if you can donate, I very much appreciate it. No donation is too small. And thanks to everyone that's donated so far. I appreciate all of you so much for your kind and generous donations. Check the link in the description for donation options. Thank you. So without further ado, tonight's returning guest is Micheal Lee Hill. He is an award-winning musician, filmographer, and UFO experiencer who incorporates cosmic hyperdimensional frequencies into his music, gained from long-term communication with those not from here. His footage of the Lake Erie UFOs has created a Billy Meyer-like buzz. Micheal has been featured on the History Channel along with countless radio and TV programs. Hello and welcome back to the show, Micheal. It's good to see you, brother. How have things been?
I should unmute the microphone. Things are, man, it's been a really interesting 3 months. As you know, I had emergency retinal reattachment surgery, and the last 3 months, man, I don't want to vent, but man, it's been probably experienced more pain physically and mentally. Burnt to the core, but not broken. You know, sometimes the cocoon makes quite the barrier to break through, you know, so I feel like I've broken through and I'm feeling much better, and just getting things in line, you know, for the future.
It's been a while since I've had you on. I'm really excited to speak with you tonight. We have so much to talk about, and I'm rocking the 432 Hertz shirt that you sent
man,
me.
It looks fantastic on you.
Thanks so much for sending it, and also have your 432 Hertz disc
that
I use it every day. I use this thing. I put my tea and lemon water on it every day, and it really does make a huge difference. I use it all.
Man, I'm glad you are experiencing the 432 in every way. Dude, I think that shirt, you know, we'll get into this, but it's technology. It's actually cosmic harmonious frequencies made visible through a new science called cymatics. And then the image was quantum entangled to divine living water that has extra dimensional energy from a higher dimension. And that image itself opens up a portal through the fabric of our space-time. And that was confirmed by NASA. It's just not woo-woo speak, you know? And so let me ask you, you just got the shirt a couple days ago. How does it feel to wear it? Can you feel energy? Can you feel?
I can definitely feel something flowing through it, and it's the fabric definitely makes it really, really nice too. It feels really good on your skin. It's like not hot, and yeah, it feels really good. And yeah, I think that because I've looked at a lot of the, we're getting ready to look through the photos that you sent me that we can show and put a little presentation together. But a lot of those photos, like I can see a portal in the center of a lot of those, and some of them have multiple portals.
Well, you know what? Show the camera that portal that's in the middle of your chest, man. It's truly the first wormhole, black hole. Yeah, right there. That's not computer generated. You're looking at it. Mother Nature has created. You know, that's the toroidal physics. That is the vector equilibrium, and is real. And you can see the Fibonacci spiral, the golden mean going through there. That's the business end of that image. And that's what's bringing through the extra photonic light energy from another dimension into this dimension. And by the way, that came from NASA. Perfect. It's thundering here. We got a thunderstorm, and our dog does not like thunder. So I'm her thunder buddy. So she's like, "Where's my thunder buddy?" But everything's good, man. I'm glad you wear it well. It looks good on you.
Yeah, I like it. It feels really good, and it's a good length. I had to get a couple of sizes up because you said that it fits kind of tight, and it does fit kind of tight. But I got a 3X, so it fits pretty good.
Ah, right on. Yeah, it looks like it fits you perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was telling you, even though I've lost 20 pounds, I'm still got a ways to go. So that shirt on me, well, the future I'll be wearing one. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, you looking like Michelin Man, Marshmallow Man.
It's what I was saying. I'm like, I don't know if this is the look for me, but for people that have your build, and
Yeah.
I've always been a musician trapped in a football player's body.
Get that linebacker body going on.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I guess where I kind of wanted to start a little bit before we get into the presentation with the photos and the images, because I just refreshed on your video interview with Merlin Anu that you posted, that you sent me.
I'm really proud of that one.
And it's so good, so much good information in there. That video was like so much confirmation of the things that that I've really been saying, and it rings so true. Everything that was said in there, like how both of you were talking about that this 3D physical reality is just about the experience, right? And that there is no right and there is no wrong here, because we have free will and we're all on a free will planet, right? And it's our perception of right and wrong is what really creates it. And it's the way that Merlin explained it. It's like you're either here learning or you're not learning. And I love that. That was the easiest way that it could ever, be explained. And I've been trying to tell my viewers this on this channel for a while now, and I might not be explaining it properly because I believe that this is a really important thing for people to understand this concept.
Yeah. You know what I've been told, dude, is the gift of physical incarnation is you get to take you with you. That now after this, because we're at the end of the age of Pisces and we're actually in the age of Aquarius now. And up until this threshold, which was in 2016, by the way, not 2012, it was December 2016. Up until that time, every time that you pass away, then you reincarnate and come back in and go under the veil again. Your memory's wiped. But this time, at the end of this cycle, is the one that all of this previous progress throughout this whole time, Kali Yuga, long, thousands upon thousands of years of incarnating. After this one, though, there's no more going under the veil again. It's like you get to take you with you. That's the gift of physical 3D incarnation. That you get to take Ryder, your likes, your disapprovements, your hopes, your dreams, and your fears, actually. But you don't get into the higher realms with a lot of fear. It just don't work. Then you get kicked back. If your belief system is filled with fear, doubt, and bullshit, you're not ready for higher realms. But since you and I are talking and we're in this reality, we wouldn't be speaking if we didn't both, and all your listeners, everyone that is in our reality right now, man, congratulations. You're in the age of Aquarius and you're about ready to see the dismantling of a dark age and the downfall of the dark cabal and the beginning of the golden age.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it's just going to be a little bit of a bumpy road before we get to that golden age era. But it's another thing that you talked about in that video with Merlin was the transmutation of fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really, really good example that you gave too, is just that you just have to live it. You have to live out that fear and go through it. That's
There's
the only
no
way.
way.
Yeah. I was like, that's what I've been trying to say too. Everything that you guys were talking about in there, I was just like, yeah, because we've talked a few times, you've been on my show and I've kind of put pieces together, just by talking to you, and I've kind of developed my own what you're trying to say. And
right on, man. That's I think we're all just passing it along. I learn from everyone I talk to, and you learn from who you talk to, and you teach those that are listening to you. And I've heard it's always master-student relationships. That's it. There's always only two. And the idea is sooner or later, the student will become a master and take on their own student. And pretty world, I guess the whole goal is to have a world of masters. You know what I mean? Like everyone, and we can get into what it means to be rainbow. It's clean chakras. I learned from the Native American Indian elders that all the chakras, from red in the root to purple in the crown, they all emit light, but only when that chakra is clean, balanced, and spinning freely. And it's so if you've cleaned your chakras, to them, the grandmother told me, rainbow doesn't mean the same thing to us that it means to the rest of the world. That to us that have the gift of sight, she said, you've become the whirling rainbow. And you get into the whirling rainbow prophecy of the Hopi. And truly, it just means people that have cleaned their own chakra system. So everyone can become rainbow. But everyone's going to have their own individual journey to, some people might need some work in the crown chakra. Some people might need root chakra. Maybe you're experiencing a lot of difficulties with keeping a roof over your head in abundance. Well, that's a root chakra symptom. If you have a problem speaking your truth, that's a throat chakra. So what they told me is only when you've proven yourself by spiritual vetting to be rainbow, that's the only time you'll be gifted extra manifestation ability. Because let's just say you got 6 out of the 7 chakras, and think of the 7-pointed star too. We'll get into the significance. I look at that as like a chart of your chakra systems. So 6 of those points are all lit up and they're glowing, but the 7th one, which let's just say it is the root chakra, is dark. What do you think would happen if all of a sudden spirit granted you all kinds of extra manifestation ability and you still had 1 or 2 of your chakras that are dark? You're just going to go and manifest the crap out of what you fear, and it doesn't end well. And they told me spirit is smarter than that. So but when I got my name, Rainbow Warrior Eagle, Chief Blue Star Eagle, he's exactly the blue star Kachina prophecy. I'm sure you've heard of it. Well, look at what Kachina means, man. He's a dancer for sure. Like in reality, Chief Blue Star Eagle, he was a Native American Indian dancer of the most highest level, for real, like dancing. As stupid as it sounds, like he did Native American First Nation shows at Disney as a real, like he's the real deal. And he is he's physically incarnated Anunnaki. He would be Nanar here. That Chief Blue Star Eagle is his human meat suit, identity. But he said, now that you've been deemed rainbow and your name was gifted to you by the Eagle Nation. That's why Eagle is at the end of the name. Your name is Rainbow Warrior. And when you pray under that name, he said, Spirit will recognize you as that name. And when you pray under that name, your prayers will go to source with great enthusiasm, was his own words. So
how many of the Anunnaki is currently incarnated on the planet right now in a physical human avatar?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah. I've met most of the inner circle. Merlin is Anu, that's from his own, you've heard him. And that's weird too, because that would make him my father, because I'm Ea in this suit. And so, let me tell you how we met, because my brother, Enlil, Chief Golden Light Eagle. And this isn't my opinion, by the way. Spirit brought me this knowledge, and I asked him, Chief Golden Light Eagle. By the way, he's been on Ancient Aliens many times. He's passed away now, but Spirit led me to the information that he is Yahweh or Enlil. So that was awkward because I've been already knew him for years, So me and him were in a pickup truck, and I said, this is awkward, but Spirit has led me to understand that you are Enlil, my brother, Yahweh. said, yes, I've done some pretty messed up things. And I didn't really know what to say to that. But I'm like, well, haven't we all? He said, yeah, but no one knows who Enlil or Yahweh is anymore anyhow, so I just go by Chief. But so what they told me about rainbow is, my bloodline, the Inky bloodline for Native Americans is called the Serpent Clan. And every tribe, whether it's Hopi or I'm Iroquois, Seneca, or Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, Blackfoot, whatever, every tribe has a Serpent Clan. And I asked Chief, I said, because the serpent mound, that the grandmother over the Serpent Clan held me behind at a presentation at the Serpent Mound. And she announced to everyone that we want to announce Micheal is now a recognized member of the Serpent Clan. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know what it was, dude, at that time. It took me like 5 months. And when I seen Chief again, I said, Chief, what's the Serpent Clan? I've said I kind of feel like Forrest Gump of all this. Like, just shit happens. I'm like, well, all right. I don't know what it means, but whatever. So I finally got to ask Chief, what is the Serpent Clan? He said, that's those of us with galactic heritage. And I said, oh, all right, that makes sense. So it's the Serpent Clan that are the medicine men and the medicine women of those tribes. But the reason I'm telling you this is the Serpent Clan is the incarnated Inky Anunnaki bloodline on this planet. The Eagle Nation is Enlil's side, pure Anunnaki. And they will vet any human. The council is overseeing, human evolution. And so what happens when the Eagle Nation vets a member of the Serpent Clan and you're deemed a clean vessel, that, you make it past the testing of Team Bad Cop and Team Good Cop. And at that point, the eagle has given you rainbow status, that you're a clean vessel. Your chakras are all glowing. And to the Serpent Clan, truly you become the feathered serpent. It's the true meaning of, in the Wingmakers philosophy, they would call it sovereign integral. But
yeah, this is a good point to, because I love your perspective on how duality works here, right? And I always reference you on almost every show that I go on about how the dark and the light works, right?
Yeah, they're working in tandem, man.
Yeah, and
they're not opposing forces. They're working together to churn humanity into the higher realms. But Team Bad Cop, man, if you got a lot of fear and nonsense in your belief system, they have no problem. And actually, they're very good at making you experience the folly of your thinking.
Yeah, and I try and explain that to people. They want to separate it and make it, two separate things, like they're working against each other. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. They're working in tandem. And I love how you explain it. And I say it almost every time I get on someone's show about how the dark's role here is to test you, right? And from your words, they dangle a carrot in front of you to see if you're going to bite. And then the light's role is to see how much love and compassion you're going to bring to any pain or suffering that comes your way. And I seriously, love that so much, because I don't think that we can, live in this, exist in this 3D physical body without pain and suffering, right? That's a part of being here and is having this 3D physical experience. So how much love and compassion that you bring to the pain and suffering that comes your way, that should be the number one thing that you do. I don't think that we can exist here in this kind of density without pain and suffering. That's just a part of being here in this 3D physical.
Well, you know what, dude? I hate to say, yes, you're absolutely right, but guess who made it that way? We did. You know what I mean? This could have been a playground. We've made it into a war ground by greed, by looking at the outside sources as some people are only happy when they get that house, or that those are giving your energy away to illusionary outside sources. That's Team Bad Cop. And truly, a lot of this knowledge came to me through Enlil, by the way. And he pretty much, man, if you have a lot of fear and doubt and bullshit in your belief system, and you move into realms that thought is manifest instantly, it doesn't work, you know? So there's a self-governing threshold bottleneck that you don't get through that gate with thought forms like that. And that's what Team Bad Cop is doing here, is their spiritual roles and make sure no one gets through the gate that harbors those ideas of abuse of power over themselves, over others, and over the actual mother nature. You know, look what we're doing to water. Look what we're doing to the air, and, you know, to each other. And it came real close that we didn't get a pass this time. And I understand it more this time. You know, I don't want to say humanity's behavior has really upset me recently. The war, you know, Putin, and even what's going on in the United States, and the prejudice and the xenophobia and the separating. You know, if Team Good Cop, if the 7 Lords of Light are looking at how much love and compassion you bring to any suffering that comes your way, guess what, man? Building walls, not the way. You know, that's not the way to get freed out of this, because people are like, this is a prison planet. I'm like, no, it ain't. It's a cocoon. You know what I mean? And, you know, you don't get a butterfly without a cocoon. And, you know, the caterpillar is no less significant in the creator's eyes than the butterfly it'll one day become. So I've started to view this existence as the cocoon between the human caterpillar and the human butterfly. And by the way, that's the new 7-petaled seed. That's the butterfly sacred geometry template, which we'll get into that and see how it was communicated through crop circles. But I want to say, let's say the caterpillar seed of life is the 6-petaled version that encodes the Merkaba, the double tetrahedron. So it's all related, and I'm glad, man. I'm excited because we got a lot to talk about. And by the way, is this an hour or is it 2 hours?
We can do 2 hours. 2 hours is not a problem. We got a lot of information to cover and a lot of things to look at.
Not only that, I got to share, just because I'm excited, I got a new podcast coming out, which is called the Lost Nation Podcast with MLH. That's me. But also, I know this sounds stupid, but I got a crash course into running my old business, because I had a business team that got behind me, and I found out I was making, let's just say, X amount of money, and I found out they were making 10 times that amount. I'm like, wait a minute, you know, isn't it? This is like,
it's the opposite way around. This
is the opposite way around. So, but you know, all's well that ends well. I got my company back, and I'm the only one behind the wheel now. That also means I had to learn all the internal functioning of my website and the business, and I've never learned how to do email marketing, and it's actually stinted my growth, because I'm like, why put up all these new products on my website if no one knows they're there? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just figured it out. I'm so excited. And I've seen too, you know, I got 3,100, which is 31,000, but customers. I'm like, damn, I didn't know that. So now I can release emails to everyone showing them new products and everything. So it's all going to come out in tandem, though, of all these new products coming on my website, emails showing people new arrivals and whatnot. But every month, I'm also going to do a newsletter that's going to contain a lot of content of the video productions I make for YouTube, and philosophy, music. You know, it'll just be a little online show of me being able to share anything I want to share, and then also create a blog that'll be available on my website.
Oh yeah, before we go any further, at the end of this video, I'm going to play Micheal Lee Hill's 432 Hertz song, Morningstar. So anybody that wants to listen to that, it's a beautiful song, and it's a new version, right? You just
yeah, dude. I got even a little bit more to that story because, like everyone else, I'm a guitar player. And when I heard Ozzy Osbourne's first solo albums, with the famous guitarist now, his name was Randy Rhoads. He died in a plane crash, but he's considered one of the best guitar players that ever lived. It's like him alone now is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's the one that wrote Crazy Train and Flying High Again and Mr. Crowley and all that stuff. It's him. And he brought this classical influence into rock and roll guitar playing that had not been there up until him. And plus, he's just a savant. So those albums really inspired me as a musician in my songwriting. And the point is, in that first original lineup of Ozzy Osbourne for those two albums, it was Randy Rhoads on guitar, Rudy Sarzo on bass, and Tommy Aldridge on drums. And after that, Rudy Sarzo went on to form Quiet Riot, which I'm sure everyone knows who Quiet Riot is. Mm-hmm. And then he joined Whitesnake and was in the Whitesnake lineup with Steve Vai, which, me and Steve
Vai was in Whitesnake?
Yes. Yeah, they paid him $1 million to come in, and their guitar player, Adrian Vandenberg, was in an accident and broke his hand.
Oh, so he just played on the record then?
He one song he wrote, but he redid all the guitar parts and toured, and they paid him $1 million to do it. And matter of fact, Steve Vai just went maybe a month ago, and there was a big festival, and Whitesnake was playing, and Steve Vai showed up and went up and played Still of the Night with them in the lineup. But Rudy Sarzo was the bass player for that lineup as well. And then after that, Rudy Sarzo went and played with Ronnie James Dio. So Rudy Sarzo is a huge inspiration to me. So how this gets into Morningstar is all of a sudden I find out that Rudy Sarzo was on an interview, and during it, he tells the host, man, I'm really, I've been obsessed with this 432 subject. He's like, do you know what I'm talking about? And the host is like, oh my God, you got to talk to Micheal Lee Hill. So the next thing I know, Rudy Sarzo is contacting me, like for me to teach him what I've learned from the Anunnaki, and, me being brought into the NSA remote viewers, reverse engineering division. And it was all about exactly cosmic harmonious frequency. I didn't know they were already in technology transfer programs. I'm talking about the NSA with the Anunnaki. So I didn't know that my being guided by the Anunnaki and that course of study they gave me that started to incorporate crop circles, which we're going to be able to show the people for the first time, all the crop circles that was part of that communication. But dude, at first I didn't know it was all the same course of study. You know what I mean? The Anunnaki through crop circles, A.R. Borden teaching me about cosmic harmonious frequencies and how light and sound truly create our physical reality. And this is important because it's all based around the frequency of 432 Hertz. So it's really important because we'll get into, when we get into these photographs, that they've given me the proof to show humanity how 432 has been encoded into all ancient civilizations, ancient temples and sacred sites, and pyramids, and into the actual culture of, real quick, we'll just get into, look how many 12 seconds is in 12 hours. It's 43,200, 432. And then, to show you how crazy this gets, and there's so much more we can get into, but so you take that number, 43,200, and multiply it by the height and the width of the pyramid in Giza. So you take that height, I have it written down somewhere, but just take the height and multiply it by 43,200 and the width, you get the accurate dimensions of planet Earth. All the mound builder sites, one wall will be, 2,160 feet long. We'll get into this because what I'm saying, these are actual octaves of 432, and it's important to understand that. So when we get into that,
I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up actually right now. The first one is
Venus.
Venus, yes.
No.
Well, that was my background.
There it is. Right on. What this is, that what you're looking at is actually, it's called cymatics, which is a new science of making the invisible visible. It started off with they take a big metal plate and they put sand on it, and then you take a bow and it's tuned to a specific frequency. So when it's like, and as you do that, you could watch the sand dance and take on geometry, but it wasn't random. They found out every time you hit specific frequencies, specific geometry is formed. So now that's evolved to what you're looking at, which is a big vat of water, and then you can pump frequency through it, and you can see what it's doing in Mother Nature's eyes, And so
that's how you make your disc too, right?
Yes, I hired the scientists behind this called Cymoscope, and I sent them because I've been guided into why this frequency was so important. So I went into my recording studio, and man, I didn't even finish that. Dude, the guy from the Travel Channel, UFO Witness, a brand new show, he's contacted me, and I'm going to be part of season 2. But he just released, he's doing a show with Jack Osborne, and they're going to the Skinwalker Ranch and looking into the Skinwalker Ranch. Well, he already knows that, Robert Bigelow had contacted me back in 2011 and said, and so the audience knows Bigelow Aerospace is the ones that Pentagon funded $22 million to look into the UFO subject. But guess what, man? They already knew it's real. What they were truly looking for was people who was in contact with this intelligence, this higher hyperdimensional intelligence that we know of as the Watchers or the Shining Ones or the Elohim or the Anunnaki, whatever you want to call them, right? Their own word is the Sam. We can get into why that's so. But anyhow, so I sent him Morningstar because, as you said, all of a sudden I started tutoring Rudy Sarzo, a musical hero of mine, probably like the grandfather of hard rock, on the planet. And it's been now Ben, who is the host of UFO Witness and doing the show with Jack Osborne. He's sending Jack Morningstar because of Rudy Sarzo's involvement. Well, man, it's just weird, man.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. I love it. I actually listen to it quite often, especially the new version that you sent me is phenomenal. But this image of Venus here, this is through the itomizer, right? Or
there's called a Cymoscope.
I mean, the Cymoscope, yeah, but it's very similar to the frequency of Venus that we were talking about.
No, this is Venus. What they did was, because why I think it's important is when we get to the next one, you'll see this is a cymatic image of the actual frequency that Venus is vibrating, and you can see it's a 7-pointed star. And it's interesting because they had already told me the 7-pointed star is the morning star. It's the true representation of it. So keep that in mind, that this is what we're getting into is proof that our physical reality is 432 based. And there's so much. Remember what we just said about the pyramid and its relation to 432 being encoded into it. There's a lot more of that as well. But
I'm going to flip to the next one.
Yeah. This is the actual cymatic of a 27 Hertz frequency, but you got to be tuned to 432. What I'm talking about for the non-musician, let's just say, just because you got your middle A note on a piano tuned properly, there's still a lower A note when you go to the left, and it's called an octave, which is one complete cycle, lower or higher. You either divide by 2 or you multiply by 2. So the lower octave of 432 is 432 divided by 2, which is 216. And then 216 divided by 2 is 108. As I was telling you, 108 is really important because, like, Tibetan monks have 108 beads on their prayer bracelets, and they'll recite chants and mantras 108 times. So, but then 108 divided by 2 is 54, and then 54 divided by 2 is 27. why I'm telling you this is a 27 hertz pulse put through a cymatic scientific device. See the perfect 7-pointed star?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you can just do a little comparison, flip back to Venus and then flip back to this. Yeah. So it's scientific proof that Venus is vibrating at 432 base math and physics. And
looks almost identical.
almost identical. I actually had to go and look through these images and go, wait a minute, is it the same? And it's not. But man, it's close and it's good enough. Like, not good enough. It just shows you the relationship. Because again, like I said, what the Anunnaki have communicated to me is take the middle A note on your piano. If you go an octave higher, which is times 2, 432 times 2 is 864. Well, this gets really weird, man, because the sun is 8,640 miles across. That's, 864 is 432 times 2. The moon is 2,160 miles across. That's one octave below 432. They're perfect octaves of one another, and that's why we get a perfect full totality eclipse. But then, even into the precessional cycle, which is 25,920, when you take the precessional cycle and divide it by 60, which is, the highest level of timekeeping we have and the lowest. Like I said, 60 seconds and 12 hours is 43,200. But anyhow, you take that 25,920 year-long precessional cycle, which is, so people know what I'm talking about, it's like that cycle that goes from the age of Pisces and now we're into the age of Aquarius. It's 25,920 divided by 60 is 432. It's all, in all these ancient sites are all, like, you'll find precessional cycle numbers are encoded into the actual layout and dimensions. And it was pretty weird because NASA's Richard Hoagland brought me into a team to start to develop transmissions to try to make contact, which we can get into this. It's worked, which is freaking mind-blowing. You know what the Anunnaki just communicated, because we're talking about it? It is the relationship of the mathematical constant of pi times the golden mean divided by 360 is 432. It's mind-blowing. It's way more than E equals MC squared even. And it's just reality. But
I'm gonna hit this next one here.
Yes, this gets into when I met the Anunnaki. They told me this was in 2008. There was no ancient aliens. I didn't even know what an Anunnaki was. They said, in your past, we were known as the Anunnaki. And in your past, you were known as Ea Enki, the water bearer. And I'm like, well, whatever, like, if I don't know who the Anunnaki is, I sure as hell didn't know what a water bearer was or Ea. So a couple months later, I went into meditation and went into, the mental space where I can communicate. When I want to, it comes through anytime, anything, and anyone really. But I said, listen, if you are who you say you are, and I am who you say I am, encode the name Ea Enki into a crop circle. And that'll be my confirmation that you are who you say you are, and that I am who you say I am. And then I stopped myself mentally. I'm going, man, what a silly request. In my mind, can you imagine a crop circle showing up and it says Inky written in cursive? It's like a big birthday cake, I'm like, the hell's that going to prove?
It's not going to be that easy. They're going to make it a little more tough. They're going to code
dude, I got cocky, actually. I said, listen, well, encode it in a way that is cool. Figure it out, right? And I said, then I got really cocky. I said, while you're at it, encode it with something only I would be able to decode. Well, it just so happens the image that you just showed of the 27 Hertz pulse, I had tracked down the proper cymatic images. Yes, that one. That's the last. Well, look at the middle of this crop circle and then flip back to the A note. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what happened was I had made the whole 7 notes, because there's a lot more. There's 7 notes of a musical scale without the sharps and flats before you get to the octave. So I had made 6 discs, and but because this crop circle showed up in 2011, I made the request to them in 2009. So I had 2 years of just, I didn't hassle it and go, where's my crop circle? But, during that time is when I started being guided into cymatics and the actual geometry that's created by frequency and scientifically provable. So this was the first disc I made that day. And, but it was of the actual crop circle. Obviously, I've got a team behind me that took the information from the crop circle and made very 4K detailed images so I could use these to teach and show people. But when I made this disc, I set it aside. When I went back, go back to that A note, I just made this disc after it, and I made it. I'm going, why does this look so familiar? Dude, I wasn't putting 2 and 2 together that this is the middle of the Inky crop circle. And I know it's 432 related. And at that point, my brain had not connected the dots. And I was like, why does this look so familiar to me? And it didn't come. After 10 minutes, this voice is just like, don't worry about it. Just set it down and, it'll come. Don't worry about it. So I finally just let go and said, okay, maybe it'll come some other day. I put that disc down and I go ahead to the next one. And I seen that 7-pointed star sitting there, and I burst into tears, man. It was revelation. I told them to encode it with something only I would be able to decode. Sure enough, they did.
Encoded 432 into it. That's
yeah, and showed me the
incredible.
relationship of the 7-pointed star to 432. And this is very important because look at the world map of Babylon that sits in a museum right now. It's the 7-pointed star. Look at the Cherokee tribe, which is truly one of the Anunnaki human hybrid bloodlines on the planet. It's a 7-pointed star. But what I want to show you is something very interesting because, nope, go to the next one. I mean, the first one.
Okay.
See, you see how there's almost like, there's the 7 black parts. And by the way, you see how on the outside edge, on the one that would be at the 5 o'clock position, on the outside, there's one big circle there. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's where it's telling you, that's what denotes where you begin decoding ASCII binary code. Why this became very important to me is right there. You see that whole row of it says, it's all circles, and there's like open, filled, open, 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 filled, open, filled.
Yep.
Every one of those is at the end of one of those 7-pointed stars. When you decode it, it's ASCII binary code, and it spells out Ea space Inky. So they did encode the name Ea Inky into it. They did encode this crop circle with something only I would be able to decode, which was the 7-pointed star's relationship to 432 and 27 Hertz specifically. But now you see the first area next to that circle where it has looks like star constellations. The first one's 3, right?
Yeah.
Next one's 3, and then 4, and then 4, and then 4, and 4, and then 5. That's a 7-digit number. When you actually put that into Google, your listeners can do it. Get some confirmation for yourself. That didn't come out right. But what that number is, 3344445, is the actual genome of an enzyme called a universal stress protein that handles how the body handles outside stressors, whether it's increased solar activity, which is very important now, or viruses. It's interesting. what they're saying is when you use these frequencies, which we'll get into, because all this ended up with them gifting the humanity through me the ability to restructure and revitalize and resurrect dead municipal tap water back into living water. And we can get into that. But through that water that's bringing in extra energy from another dimension. I know that sounds crazy bullshit, but NASA got involved with this and they looked into my work, which we can get into how that happened. But they did the actual photography of before and after photos, which I know that's at the end of our list, but it takes almost dead. It's just a little pinprick of light to after is like, it looks like a supernova. So I asked the biophysicist from NASA, I said, listen, isn't that some form of unlimited free energy? That if there's no energy, but now there's a lot of energy, where's that extra energy coming from? And I said, is it from our sun? Is it from our planets? Is it our planet's electromagnetic field? And she said, no, it's opening a portal through the fabric of our space-time that is bringing in extra photonic light energy from another dimension into our realm. That's the extra energy you're seeing. I was like, wow.
Yeah, and recharging the water, bringing
Yes.
dead water back to life.
Yeah, show them your disc, because that's a beautiful example of it. Ryder has one of the 7-inch versions. This is what I sent to NASA, and what they confirmed is resurrecting and revitalizing dead municipal tap water. We can get into this too. It just, Elon Musk all this information we're sharing is being taken to the moon in a library, and this information is included in it. So this fall, man, all this, if it resurrects dead water and it's being sent to the moon to rain down on this planet for the next 10 billion years, I'm super excited about this, because it's going to change things on this planet for the better. But anyhow, that's the first one. So let's go ahead to the next one. Now, this one, you can see, first of all, that's a 6-petaled. And it's the only one out of this communication that's 6-petaled. And how I even came to this is I found out this was in the exact same field as the previous one, the year prior. Previous, actually. In 2010, this one showed up in the field. And then 2011, the Inky crop circle showed up the exact same field. But when I looked at this, I could tell this is the same artist, the other one that's signed by Inky. But see how those circles that surround that Merkaba shape, the double tetrahedron, the Star of David in the middle, that's ASCII binary code. And when you decode it says E equals MC squared. So right then and there, I was like, I know that they use crop circles to communicate multidimensionally, like the Arecibo crop circle. People can just type in Arecibo crop circle. You'll see what I'm talking about. They responded to NASA's communication of a pictorial representation of human knowledge that NASA put together, sent it out of the Arecibo telescope. And then in 2001, this crop communication, I can't even call them crop circles anymore, by the way, I'm renaming it crop communications. But at the very bottom, NASA put in a symbol of a telescope as the means of communication. Well, in the response from those that are not from here, it showed like it shows like mind bubbles, like it's telepathic communication is how they said it's being communicated. But the reason I'm telling you this is the year previous in the same field is that 8-bit version of the mind bubbles, but it's in HD. It fills up the whole field of just that image, and it's beautiful. And people don't really know this idea that crop circle communication is multidimensional, and it's 1 year they'll tell you one thing, the next year they'll elaborate. So I'm looking
this one's really interesting. I see whenever I look at it with my third eye, it develops an eye right in the very center of it, and it has 16 of the little dots all around the eye in the very center. It's
Yeah, brother.
really interesting.
It shows you energy, right? Because E equals MC squared. It's energy into our reality, because even physics, Richard Hoagland, who, like I said, brought me into a team recently. I found out through them, they know that every planet, if you put a Star of David inside a circle, where those pyramids touch the inner circle is always 19.5 north or south, longitude, latitude. And on every planet, that upwelling of multidimensional energy that creates this reality, the most biggest upwelling of energy will be along that 19.5 line. On Earth, it's Hawaii, and it's a volcano. On, was it Jupiter? Is that the one that has the storm?
Jupiter,
Saturn. Well, anyhow, every planet, the biggest upwelling of energy in the third dimension is along the 19.5 line. So energy. But instantly, I already knew that they use these crop circles multidimensionally. So I thought, what does 432 have to do with E equals MC squared? And then they led me to the answer. It's quite simple, because people know that, hang on a second.
Yeah, I know whenever I look at something with my third eye and it creates something else, then I know that the symbol is basically perfect and it hasn't been altered in any way. And this one is pretty much perfect. It has really good energy flowing through it. So, yeah.
Well, think about what these two crop circles are really communicating, and that our quantum physicists, the highest level of science right now, they know that everything, all particles that are in existence, atoms, that everything is created from, you and I, this desk, this world, is both particle and wave simultaneously. But all of our science that we know of is E equals MC squared. Well, that's just the particle part of the equation. M equals mass. So it's right there in the name. So where's the wave component? And it's hidden, but 432 squared is C. 432 squared is the speed of light. It's the only frequencies that are truly harmonics of light, and everything's made of light. So for instance, I guess another way of saying it is 432 base frequencies squared becomes C squared times mass equals energy. Like in the way that they've communicated this science to me, it's photonic light, photons, mass, that when you use specific frequencies, it brings through extra photonic light energy. So these first two are really E equals MC squared equals 432 squared. And it's giving you the building prints of actual us Native American First Nation members. We call it star knowledge. And star knowledge is truly the knowledge of light and sound, and how light and sound truly creates our physical reality. So these first two are hugely important, and these are the first two of the communication but this is the only one that's out of sequence. Like I said, the one previous, same field, it was 2011. This one was in 2010. So this is really the first one, but it's the second one that I was drawn to by them.
Next one up is the Morningstar.
Yes. This was in 2015, I believe. It might be 2016. But again, when I said encode the name Ea Inky into every crop circle, I didn't know they did it in a weird way. First of all, you got the 7-pointed star again, right? But you see that crescent moon symbol? It's actually an eclipse symbol. If you go back to Sumer, every depiction of Inky above his shoulder will be that eclipse symbol. And the eclipse is very intertwined into Ea Inky's story. So it is encoding the name Ea Inky into this crop circle in just a different way. It's the Sumerian symbol of Inky. But this was the next one that came, and instantly I was like, oh my God, another 7-pointed star, But go ahead to the next one. Unless any of these, if you, let's go back to that one. I want your input on these and what you're seeing, because I trust your inner sight, you know?
This
What's
one,
that one speaking to you?
this one speaks. It kind of splits into like a honeycomb type shape in the middle. Whenever I look at it,
I heard that they're big. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, that was a joke. Honeycomb's big. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not small. No, no, no. All right, sorry. I
Yeah, it
digress.
kind of goes into a honeycomb, and what I get is this is representing the sun and the moon, and I know that the morning star is actually said to represent, I think it's Venus. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's supposed to represent a different planet. But to me, this is telling me that the morning star is actually the sun, and when the sun comes up in the morning, that's the morning star, and it's the cycle of suffering in this 3D reality, and that's the signal of the morning star. And I mean, Lucifer is only mentioned in the Bible once, in the book of Isaiah. I think it's Isaiah 14, and it was a mistranslation from the Hebraic translation into English. And it was called Morning Star, old son of the morning.
Mhm.
So that's what it's
Yeah, I can
speaking
tell
to me.
you the skull and bones in that group, they may think that they're doing Lucifer's will. They're not. Totally mistaken. Dude, man, you know what? That's a flag. I don't like to wave that flag, but I know for sure before any of this, I was guided in a guided meditation to meet my higher self. And when he came and sat down near the campfire, um, I got to ask him his name, and he said, "My name's Lucifer." And I almost, that's not my bag. I'm not religious in any normal way. I'm not Christian in any normal way. So that's the last thing I was expecting to hear. And it almost knocked me out of my state of meditation. And he smiled. He goes, "Don't worry. That's, you don't have nothing to worry about." And I thought, well, that was freaking hot. And dude, it was really kind of embarrassing, because after that, this was in a class with like 12 people. And she went around the class. She's like, "Well, who was your higher self?" And they're like, "Oh, I was Mary Magdalene," which I want to get into this with Mary Magdalene. But anyhow, I'm thinking, oh my God, she's going to ask me the name of my higher self. I'm like, I can't lie. That's not in my nature. And so I'm like, I'm gonna have to tell her Lucifer, oh my God. And I did. And she was like, kind of treated me like, "Oh, it's okay, son, everyone's someone, and it's okay to be a redheaded stepchild." You know what I mean? But I found out later Lucifer and Michael are one and the same. Look at even their stories in that book, that Lucifer was God's right-hand man, and was the head of the seven archangels. And once upon a time, well, guess what? There's no time. So figure that one out. But anyhow, the Native American First Nations say that if the dark have got me to take the dark carrot, which I heard the trickiest way they have is through love and compassion. And I've said all along, you know what? Yeah, I guess you torture me and my family. If you want to see my horns, that's going to get them to show faster than anything. But I don't even go along with that, because then look at then it gets to Michael being the head of the seven archangels. And Michael was God's right-hand man. Then it's like the exact same description that Lucifer and Michael have.
Yeah, it's interesting too, whenever you look at, when you think of, the Son of God, not as SON, but SUN, the sun in the sky. And then if my interpretation of the symbol is correct, and the morning star is actually referring to the sun in the sky, then that would mean Lucifer and the Son of God are the exact same being.
Yeah, and Michael, because I found out, take a 7-pointed star, and one night which actually I'll save this. No, I can't, because I don't want to miss this point. You'll see in another crop circle when it comes up. Well, let's just do it. We'll get there. This showed up the next year, another 7-pointed star, but you see those symbols. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Baktun Mayan calendar long count symbols. That's what those symbols are that is going in the circle around the 7-pointed star. So when I found this out and knew, they, again, each Baktun is 144,000 days long. 14, I mean, the 1440, that's interesting, right? But anyhow, the reason people freaked out is the Mayan calendar ends after the 13th Baktun. And they're like, that's why people thought it was doomsday. And, oh my God, there's no 14th Baktun. Well, it's because the 14th Baktun isn't in the age of Pisces anymore. It's the first Baktun of the age of Aquarius. So there is no 14th Baktun because it's the first Baktun of the age of Aquarius. So I realized right away, this is showing us the actual true date into the age of Aquarius. And if you take 144,000 times 14, it's 2016000000000000. 20116. That's our, I already knew because, as I said, the timekeeping the Anunnaki gave us back in Sumer, pre-Egypt, was 12 hours contains 43,200. All 432 base math and physics, when you take those numbers and frequencies, and like 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 9. 216, 2 plus 1 plus 6 is 9. 108, 9. 54, 9. They all resolve to 9. This is important, by the way, but we'll have to get back to that. So when I was thinking about 2012, I'm like, wait a minute, that resolves to a 5. That is not the way they count time systems and cycles. And I knew 2012 was not the end of the Mayan calendar. It can't be accurate because it doesn't resolve to 9. So even before this crop circle showed up, I just went ahead, every year until I got to 2016. I said, 2016 is a 9. This has to be the accurate ending. Sure enough, this crop circle confirms it. But at this point, obviously they had, by the way, they encoded Ea Enki again, Lucifer. That's what people are going to have to get over. Is Ea Enki has had many names. Poseidon, Aquarius. Aquarius is the guy holding the bucket of water, right? Well, every time Ea is shown back in Sumer, he's either got water erupting from his shoulders or is holding buckets or pitchers of water. People are like, why'd the Anunnaki have Anunnaki man bags? It's like, it's not a man bag. It's just showing you they're water bearers,
Anunnaki wearing man purses. Way before it was fashionable.
Yeah. But this shows you the true, accurate end of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. Aquarius, water bearer, Poseidon, water bearer, Maitreya, water bearer. It's just all the same thing. But
yeah, when I look at this one, with my third eye, the star, the 7-pointed star in the middle completely disappears, and it's just the circle around it, which also makes sense if the morning star is the actual sun. And Christians believe that the only way into heaven is through the sun, son of God, sun in the sky. So the sun being a portal going through the sun, and then the symbols around the edges are maybe could be something like the different angles, because they're very angly, the different angles and the different ways that you can go to actually get through the portal. I don't know.
I got you. Because then, you know what? That's what Enlil, or Chief Golden Light Eagle, actually told me and confirms what you're saying. Is he said people think it's Venus, but Venus, first of all, isn't a star; it's a planet, and it does encode the frequency that creates a 7-pointed star, which is the accurate symbol of the morning star. Is the 7-pointed star, but truly, if you look back to the Mayan calendar, they call the morning star, it's called the Lamat. But the Lamat is not a pointed star version, it's the Templar cross. And when you look into Lamat in Mayan culture and the Mayan calendar, the meaning is it's almost like the Lamat, or that Templar cross, would sit right on the in between the age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius. It's like a placeholder that showed like the phoenix, right? The rising up out of the ashes of the old age into the new golden age. And so it's all related, you know, and the Morningstar, by the way, we can get into, I think, you know, I began work with the Micheal Hedges crystal skull, and I'm part of a new documentary on that. And the producer called me and was very excited because he knows the 7-pointed star's relationship to me. And I'm here to actually set the story straight to what the Morningstar means. And obviously we're going to be playing the song Morningstar, which I worked very hard at the lyrics, and me and Dan spent time. Dan Reed co-wrote it with me. And then when we were done, and Rudy Sarzo from Ozzy Osbourne's band contacted me and wanted me to teach him what I've learned from the Anunnaki about 432. All of a sudden he's like, hey, have you written any songs in 432? I'm like, as a matter of fact. So I'm like, do you know who Dan Reed is? He's like, hell yeah, I know who Dan Reed is. I'm like, well, we just finished the song, you know, would you like to hear it? So I sent it to Rudy, and he's like, well, this song's unbelievable. You know, what are you doing with it? I'm like, nothing. It's just something me and Dan, he's like my brother from another mother. And I said, we did it during COVID. And he's like, would you mind if I put down a bass track? I'm like, are you kidding me? You know? So Morningstar is very important to me. But anyhow, getting back,
what's really interesting about this symbol too is there's 14 symbols around the outside of it, and then there's 7 points to the star, and then there's also 7 balls around it. So it's 14 and 14 all together. It's like a double coded, because you got the 14 symbols around, and then the 7 points of the star, and then the 7 balls that are depicting the points as well.
Yeah, it's all so encoded, and it's multidimensional, because don't switch yet, but this gets even better. But with, you know what the Micheal Hedges crystal skull is, right?
Yes, I'm aware. There, how many of them are there? Is there 13?
There's 13, and it is the 13th. It's the one that's galactic. And Chief said it's over 400,000 years old. And it's when Hewlett Packard looked at it in the 70s under their microscopes, because it's quartz crystal and there's no tool marks. And this brand of quartz crystal is one of the hardest substances on the planet. And there's no tool marks. So this thing shouldn't exist even. But during this new documentary, they went to New York and did a session with this medicine woman. Her name is Emily Ra. And at the end of it, they said, did the skull give you a message to give to humanity? She said, yes, it did. It showed me a 7-pointed star and the words Morning Star. And so he contacted me. He goes, you know, all these graphics you sent me, you know, what we're looking at right now. He goes, can I use these in this documentary? I said, yeah, absolutely. So it's all connected, but I'm super excited. My work with the Micheal Hedges crystal skull, I was part of the team that actually brought it here to the planet, and it searched me out. And it was weird because no one's allowed to touch that thing. It's a priceless artifact. And I sit down in front of it, and it says, touch your forehead to mine. I was like, oh man, this is awkward. You know what I mean? I had to tell his guardian, the owner, I said, you know, I know this is awkward, but this thing just told me to touch my third eye to its forehead. And he said, yeah, I know, you have permission. He said, but no, that's a really advanced initiation. So I went third eye to third eye with it. And then once I've done that, it's like that thing is capable of creating synchronicity. You know what I mean? Like, to unlock this part of the story for humanity, it is the orchestrator of event strings, is what I call them, which is actually the aligning of synchronicity and coincidence under the surface. So information gets to who it's supposed to, and you meet who you're supposed to, and things just happen effortlessly. And they said if it's like you're hitting your head against a wall, man. You're not in the flow, you know. But so yeah, man, I'm glad you're getting all this, because and man, I gotta say, I'm blown away. Just I can tell you listen and you understand. You're picking up what I'm putting down. That means the world to me, because they say a song that goes unheard is just a waste of time. So it means everything to me to know someone is getting it. So thank you. But anyhow,
thank you, Michael. I appreciate all the information that you give and continue to give. I mean, it's incredible.
Just begun, man. Just begun. Well, what happened is one night, me and Sarah were laying in bed, and those that are not from here would not let me sleep. They kept saying, actually go back to the previous one for a minute. They said, get up and divide a circle by 7. I'm like, no, how about that? I'm going to sleep now. And I'm not, you know, they're like, well, you've learned nothing then. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I had to go to my wife, honey, I got to get up and do some math. Like, oh, all right, you freak, you know. So I went and divided a circle. 360 divided by 7 is 51.428. I'm like, well, all right, so what, you know? And they said 51.428 is the actual arc of 1/7 the way around the circle. The way you could look at this is look at like 11 o'clock on this one. See that the circle, the 7 circles you said around it? Mm-hmm. One circle to the next circle, either way, is 51.428. So in my third eye, they showed me, just imagine if you took an astral highlighter and just highlighted from one circle to the next. And then they let the rest of the circle fall away, leaving only that arc, you know? And then once they had this was the only thing on the screen in my third eye, they floated a bottom one up to it and they met, making an eye shape. And they said, that's the true Ark of the Covenant. It was never an ARK, it's an ARC. And I said, oh, okay. And the minute they showed me that shape, I thought, man, I really wanted to see a 7-pointed star that uses that Ark of the Covenant 51.428 arc as each point of the 7-pointed star. And I'm like, I just would really like to see that. And I let it go. Then the next day, go ahead to the next one now. This showed up in the UK. Those are 51.428 arcs. And it's showing me a 7-pointed star. Half of the arc is covered up. So really, when I seen this, first of all, I knew, and that freaked me out. Just like I told them to encode Inky into a crop circle. And again, this gets into Archangel Michael again, Inky, because when I seen this, I'm like, I started to realize, oh my God, there's a bigger image to this. They're only showing me half of it. The other half is covered up by the pyramid. And so I wanted to see that new, just if you can continue that middle section,
go to next
that
slide.
Image. A matter of fact, go forward to, I'll just show you. Yes, that's what the inner part of that image of that crop circle. This is it completed. This was a bitch, dude. I can't do this kind of work, but I needed to see it. So I got to 4 graphic artists. It drove the first 3 mad with, I guess the feng shui to get this right is not normal. And I found
this one is 100% perfect. This is the best one that I've ever seen. And you're completely right. This one right here, I can't see anything with this, with my third eye, because it's not complete.
It's hidden.
It's broken. That's
They're
what I was
showing you half
ready
of
to
it.
say. Yeah. And I can't see anything with it. It just looks like a jumbled up mess.
But
this one's different. This one's
it's actually the same. It's not, because look at the 7-pointed star in the middle of this. Is the other one is just showing you half of that. You see what I'm saying? And actually, once you know this is what it is, you can see this is encoded into that other crop circle. They're just not showing you the full image.
Yeah, but
And
when I can't see the full image of it, I don't get anything. Like it just doesn't do anything for me. It just looks like a bunch of jumbled up,
understood. Yeah,
broken
that's why I
lines.
needed to see this, because truly, this is a 7-petaled seed of life. And by the way, you asked me if the Anunnaki are incarnated, and yes, and the one that here, she is the human meat suit embodies Kuan Yin. And she said, Michael, what this is a 7-petaled lotus. And she said, look into Tibetan culture of Buddhism and what, she said the 7-petaled lotus is like the symbol of the rainbow bridge, like that's the 7 chakras right there. It's the symbol of rebirth. And
that's why it's so perfect. Like I can look at this thing. I've looked at this one more than I've looked at any of them, and it's incredible when you look at it with your third eye. It's like it's mind blowing. It creates a giant portal and right in the most perfect circle you've ever seen, just right in the center of this thing. Like,
well, I got exciting news I want to share with you, because this is really important to me. But do you know how I've created these, right? See if you can see this. It's Metatron's cube.
Yeah.
See, it's 18 karat gold. I don't know. It's probably hard to see.
We'll show it when we get out of the presentation again, in case people can't see it.
What I want to tell you is the people, the distributor, the artist that creates these for me, I give him the designs. He laser cuts them and 18 karat golds them for me. Right now, by the end of this month, I'm going to have this symbol in 18 karat gold to encase into quartz crystal glass with a copper wrap. Yeah. And I'm super excited about it. I'll have enough raw material then to do 20 of these 3-inch discs and 15 of the 6-inch discs like you have. And this is like a culmination of all my work, and I wonder what this thing's going to do. So all of a sudden, I get a phone call from Kuan Yin, and she's like, Spirit is like, they got a message for you. And I'm like, okay. And it was, confirmation that the old cycle is now done. And we are in the new golden age. And it is, like you said, how ripple free that ride is going to be from the old reality to the new is up to us. But we got help coming, man. This isn't just arbitrary that our government is saying we're not alone and we just don't know what it is. Well, they're going to meet us halfway, and that's when things will change. And I am the appointed Earth ambassador, and it's going to unfold here really quickly within the next few years. But I told her what I'm doing with the 18 karat gold version of this, and it's going to be embedded into quartz crystal. And I said, I want your third eye, input. And she goes, oh my God. And I seen it when she did it. She goes, I see this putting out an energy field that goes out miles in every direction. Mm-hmm. She said, it's a force field. This is like bringing the energetics of a sacred site anywhere you go, and take one on with you on vacation and put it in your hotel room, and you're sending out a very high frequency force field for miles in every direction.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember when you first sent me this this photo, and I was looking at it with my third eye. I was like, it's so powerful that I felt like that I could jump right through it. You remember me messaging you that? I was like, I felt like I could just go straight through this portal, and it's the only one that literally pops up off of the screen. Like it's
man, incredible. I think you're onto something, because imagine this. First of all, go back to again, if you'd be so kind. Yes. Okay. Do you see the 7 pyramids at the end that is covering up the 51.428 arc?
Yes.
That, first of all, you need to know it's in Gnostic Christianity. there's the seal of the 7 archangels. Michael was the head of the 7 archangels. That is that seal. If you look at, just type in the seal of the 7 archangels for the listeners, you'll see what I'm talking about. But this is where this gets weird, is then I was led to the information. You know how there's, in the UK is where all the crop circles are showing up through, you know, Stonehenge and Avebury. Well, at least 98% of them is showing up in that exact same area. This voice then is like, Michael, look at the latitude line. That is, what you'll find out is that ley line that goes through the UK is actually known as St. Michael's ley line, St. Michael and Mary. And again, when you know Michael and Lucifer are one and the same, and what's important about this is that ley line, that, what I was going to say, Mary Magdalene, right? Well, look at how the Vatican in the church has taken some of the good guys and just blasphemed and reversed the good guys and the bad guys. They took Mary Magdalene and made her into a prostitute and a whore. Yeah. And now the Pope just came out a couple of years ago and said, you know what? We found out Mary Magdalene is actually the apostle of apostles. And she knew more what this was all about than anyone. So now we've made a Saints Day. And this is coming from the Pope, right? And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. What about the 2,000 years of saying she's a prostitute and a whore, you know? But I think, you know, I know how many names and other incarnations that I was known as. And each one of those, man, I went to bat for humanity and did everything I could to bring about a new, better reality. Except that name carries a lot of baggage. So it cracks me up when these new age people are like, oh, they're Luciferian. It's like, no, they're not, man. I have nothing to do with it. It's humans being human. And I have earned the right to be human. You know what I mean? I've came here and walked a mile in the moccasins, and no one gets a free ride, man. You come here to help, you go under the veil just like anybody else, and you get put through the system just like anyone else. And even I found out when I met the Anunnaki, dude, they didn't know who I was until they scanned my third eye. But anyhow, the reason I'm telling you this is 51.428 latitude line on the actual freaking planet Earth is the ley line that goes through the UK, known as St. Michael's ley line. And it's where all these 7-pointed crop circles that we've just been looking at are showing up along. So imagine this, 7-pointed star related crop circles that are encoding 51.428 are showing up right along Earth's ley line of 51.428. Kind of mind-blowing. And it's known as St. Michael's ley line. And this is the seal of the 7 archangels symbol that you're seeing right here. It unlocks all kinds of hidden history for humanity. And I'm excited. But now, keep that outer edge. What I want to tell you is one of our star knowledge elders, his name is Bear Cloud. Obviously, I've been guided into the 7-pointed star bed of info. And I go to the Star Knowledge conference to speak. And they set my vending table up right next to his. I look over and he's got a book called The 7 Fires. I'm like, wow. I open it up and there's a 7-pointed star. And it said, when people realize the 7-pointed star can reproduce itself as a whole unit, both forwards and backwards in time fractally, we will enter a new time of for mankind that will enter a golden age. So now go to the next one. This is last year. Check that out, dude. Yep. It is the same 7-pointed star, which is encoding that new seed of life. It's in there, but it's 4 different levels, and one fits right inside the other. But again, like you said, you feel like you can dive in. Let me ask you: if you jumped into that, are you going through a tunnel, or is that the top of a mountain? You can't tell if you're going forward or backwards. It reproduces itself as a whole unit into its next perfect form in only 7 more steps. The old or cocoon phase of existence is based on the Merkaba, and that seed of life is 6-petaled. But to go from, 7-petaled, but it creates 6 petals in the middle out of the 7 circles. You go from 7 circles to get to the flower of life, you got to go to 18, I believe. So to go from the seed of life to the flower of life in 3D reality, you got to go, 11 more steps before you get to the next completed unit. Well, look at here, man. You go from one level of 7 to the next level of 7 and only 7. So in these evolutionary steps, you'll progress much higher in these. This is in codes like 5th dimensional energetics, whereas the 6-petaled is 3D, caterpillar and butterfly, as we're talking about. But this has become very important to me as well. And I'm coming out right now with this is going to be a new pendant, from the same jeweler that I've worked with that did the tree of peace for me. And I've not even seen it yet, but he said it's done. So maybe I'll be getting that photo tonight. But it ended up, I didn't tell the guy to do this, but did you see I just had my first custom guitar built?
Yeah, I seen that on your Facebook. Yeah.
That's on the headstock, and I didn't tell him to do that. And it's on the back plate that holds the neck to the guitar too. He actually computer, digitally etched this particular symbol into it. So it's almost like it's become intertwined into my own reality, But what do you get from that? Do you see like the fractal, multi-dimensional nature of it?
Yes, it's definitely, I think that each one of the white parts that's going around the petals is, because there's a bunch of portals within here. And I think each one of the white parts is a different portal and a different path that you can take, but it all leads to the same place. Two portals you can clearly see with your third eye, but there's actually 28 portals in this piece, and each one of them, it's a fractalization, I believe, in where you want to go. And if you get caught in the what do they call them, the angles, because there's so many angles, and they don't get caught in the angles. And I think that's might be what it is. And because the dark pieces, I've been told that from what you've been talking about, well, the new age that we're getting ready to go into, we don't have to go through the whole fractalization process again and then keep coming back without us not being aware. And this might be us needing to go back into the darkness, because I think that's how we kind of escape out of this reality matrix. And maybe the light, the white parts are there to entice us, to get us to keep returning and keep going back. But the darkness is where we want to go.
Right on, brother. I like it. This one's mesmerizing to me too. Like when I look at it, you start traveling,
Yeah.
All right, let's
We've seen that
so
one.
that's just embedded in each one of those 7-pointed stars, which is, the seal of the 7 archangels. And what now? What's the next one? So what, right? 432, all this, what we just went through is what guided me into making these, which, you have the 6-inch version, and this is a 3-inch version. So, NASA's Richard Hoagland gets a hold of me and he said, Micheal, we know your story sounds batshit crazy, but NASA has been looking into how energy works multidimensionally for a very long time. And it just so happens that your numbers that you're bringing to the table are right on the money. So he said, I would like to organize NASA to look into your 432 based work. And so, of course, I'm like, well, yeah, so I sent them. This gets into something philosophical, though. I had a month and a half from the time they received this till I got the testing results. By the way, I have all the results, all the photonic light energy photography from them of 3 different kinds of water, municipal tap water, Canadian spring water, and Nevian bottled spring water. And this is tap water. And the brighter and the bigger the image, the more energy or photonic light energy. So the top is tap water before. They took this and put a glass of water, the same water on the top, on this for 15 minutes. And then they took a droplet out and put it in their photography equipment. And that's the bottom picture. So again, right there, I was like, wait a minute. Isn't this some form of unlimited free energy? There's no energy, but now there's a ton of energy. That's why I asked her, where's this extra energy coming from? And she said, it's coming from another dimension. Really what I think we're looking at is, everything's made of light, right? Our bodies, atoms to galaxies, everything's light. This is light that has not become physical yet. It probably brings in a lot of extra coating and extra, it's like getting more paint to paint your picture with, I've actually been told these are quantum reality accelerators. That's what I wanted to get into with the 7-petaled seed of life, or 7-petaled lotus, the image we just talked about. One interesting thing was when Kuan Yin, yes, when she showed me it expanding out in all directions for miles, she said, oh my God, Michael, you do realize what's going to happen if someone takes this into their hands. It's going to give them massive amounts of manifestation ability. And I think we're safe in this regard because, first of all, you can't access it unless you're rainbow. It doesn't really it can't be misused is what I'm being guided to. But in the same sense, she explained to me too, what's your intention of releasing this? I said, my intention is I want everyone to be able to access it. I'm going to put it out and have it available to the website to anyone who wants one. And I'm going to put the intention that only those that are ready for it and it won't be misused, because I don't even think it can be misused, but those people are not going to be interested in Find Me. So I'm cool with it. And I had to think about the same thing because we can get into a new thing I'm involved with, which is called the Signal to Space Initiative. And using a family walkie-talkies that you can buy for $29. Because of the NASA work I did of creating a message to be sent out with radio astronomy and radio telescopes, we can't have people using ham radio because those are, I don't know what the word is, but guarded, or you have to have a license to broadcast on those frequencies. You have to have a ham radio operator license. So we can't have people going getting handheld ham radio and guess what the information is coming in on? 432 megahertz. And
yeah,
that's
I think
why
I used one of those one time at the Laughlin UFO MegaCon a couple of years back. Wow, one of my friends had one, and
right on.
You program the signal into it, right, and then you wait to see if you get a reply, right?
Yeah, well, Jimmy Blanchett is the inventor of this technology, I guess, using radio, to make contact. So he created this message for me, and I can tell you he's got a very nice big array in New Mexico in the Four Corners area, and he's got really high-tech cameras, and not only cameras but like night vision, and he's scanning the skies for anything that shows up during a transmission. And the last 2 times he's broadcast this message that I authored, and he put it into a radio transmission. It's one time a huge light anomaly showed up, and the other time a huge triangular craft showed up. And I got that photography already, and the video is coming. But what we did is open up to the world. And what happened was, instead of having people use ham radios, which we can't do, he took these family walkie-talkies that are on a very specific bandwidth, and it's just as powerful as ham radio, but it's for so families can get some walkie-talkies for safety issues. And there's 20 channels in those bands. So what he did was send out a message saying, listen, we're going to be using channel 14, whatever that frequency is. And we're letting you know we're going to be using this to initiate communication. And if you understand this, please send your response to us already on this frequency, because they're sending very specific 432 based math and science, and very specific frequencies are coming from a non-earth source. And so it's been confirmed is what I'm telling you. So any of your listeners, go to Facebook and go to the Signal to Space Facebook group. And what I've done is released that actual transmission that is confirmed. They know when it's broadcast. I'm giving it away for free. All you got to do is buy a pair of these $29 walkie-talkies, and at the worst case scenario, you're going to end up with a nice pair of walkie-talkies. There's I'm not Stephen Greer. You don't have to pay me thousands of dollars to initiate contact, and but then that led to, I'm like, this is really like giving people a way to tell the intelligence behind the Skinwalker Ranch. Do I really want to do that? I had to ask myself. The answer was, if it would have been before 2016 and the end of that old cycle of the 7 Lords of Light and the 7 Lords of Darkness peeking in, up until that point, if you had a lot of bullshit and stuff and you reached out to this intelligence, if they seen that you got a darkness, they'd make you experience your own darkness. Because like you said, the only way to transmute energy, because, the Anunnaki understand thoughts have an electromagnetic reality. It's energy, and energy can't be created or destroyed. It needs to be transmuted. So how do you transmute a negative thought form? Well, you live it,
Well, then that becomes the question, is our thoughts really even our thoughts, right? Are they even coming from us, or are they coming from...
It's coming from everything and us, dude, because no matter what, guess what? We're part of the mass conscious human field. And I heard the first 15 seconds of human thought form, it's not really yours. It's coming from the mass consciousness, which unfortunately right now is filled with a lot of fear, doubt, and nonsense. So if you don't look for something else, those first thought forms that enter your head, what I was told is you need to understand that you think you're thinking, but you're really listening. Those first thought forms that enter your head, and they're usually, why is this happening again? Oh, I'm getting screwed. Why is this nonsense? If you don't find a way to train yourself to go, well, thank you for showing me what I got a fear stamp on, what else is available, that thought form from the mass consciousness, it will manifest and it will be your reality. And say you're prejudiced, and that's your thought form, and then you go out and get mugged and go, see, I'm right. You're not right, man. You're just experiencing your own mental energy reflected back to you by a loving universe. You could have just as easily chose love, and experienced that. But
yeah, I agree. Life is a mirror, and our thoughts have our thoughts, beliefs, ideas all have mental power, and when we send that out, we get we get back what we put out. And the way that you explain it is is amazing is asking, is there anything else for me, right? Is there anything else that I can tap into? I do that a lot, and I learned that from you and having you on this show. Like, I do that all the time. Like, anytime I'm having a negative thought, I'm like, hey, like, what else you got for me? And then before you know it, that negative
snaps the spell. You see, what happened to me is once I started to realize thoughts create reality and become aware of what you're thinking, think about what you're thinking about. And I understood, because I experienced it, of my mental energy creating my reality. My next thought was, I couldn't get away from, why is my internal dialogue negative? Why is my internal voice always telling me, oh man, you're going to get screwed. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, and so on and so forth. And I had to go to the big woman upstairs and say, listen, am I just doomed to experience my own mental nonsense because I can't control it, And all of a sudden, man, what I was given was this download, and it was like one of those old school record players, the big horn, what I'm talking about? And it had the needle that would go down on the album, and the sound would come out of the horn. Yeah. The needle went down, and this voice said, it's just a recording. And then I understood, oh my God, like this whole download of information, those first thought forms that come in, it's just a recording. Because out of all the worst to the best, the dark to the light parallel realities, there's probably a lot worse shit than what you are fearing, but you don't really think it's a possibility. But there's those ones of your past that they did happen, and you were hurt, had your feelings hurt. And that one is where you got a fear stamp on. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So what happened was, once they gave me the download of it's just a recording, I understood. Then I found out Bruce Lee had the same understanding. And when he would have a feeling of fear and doubt, he would taught himself to write it down on a piece of paper, like that thought form of doubt. And then he would take it and burn it and give it back to the universe. Like, thank you for showing me what I got a fear stamp on. Now what else is available? You see that most of us don't question the first 15 seconds of internal dialogue. We think it's us. We think we're thinking when we're truly listening. And there's a mental practice of training yourself, especially in times of trial and tribulation, to stop yourself and go, what else is available? Because then it brings in all the universe of other possibility that they're not possible until you sever that connection with the mass consciousness. Now, I'm not saying that, if those first thought forms are all good, love, and happiness stuff, roll with it, man, but the only thing Team Bad Cop has to work with is fear. Fear is the mind killer. And so if those thought forms contain fear, if it's not and this too, I got to tell you, people talk about free will, and what they told me is, guess what? You have no free will. The only free will we have is experience what is not the highest thought form of the most love-filled outcome for everyone involved. Every other choice is a trip back into the Maya, or from one level of darkness to another. Might not be too bad. And you know what, man? Sometimes taking a long way home isn't a bad thing. But so I asked the grandmother, I said, if there's only one thought form that is truly the key out, that is the most love-filled for everyone involved, that outcome is the only thing to place your focus on. How do you have free will? She said, let me get back to you on that. Because, the only free will we have is not follow divine flow, and go, no, we're, because
we're going to take the long path on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to take the long way home.
I'm going to go down the rough road. The road
he took the hard way.
I'm just curious. I want to know what it's like. Yeah, I found myself doing that way too many times.
We've all done it, man. It took me very long, and actually to work through this, to train myself to say what else is available. Until that point, and everyone's got to go through that, and in our own way and in our own time, to figure out how to, in, you know, analogy, and say what else is available. If not, you're going to manifest from the mass consciousness. Now think of this. When I was taken into the remote viewers, the NSA group, the reverse engineering, he said most people's mental energy does not affect the mass consciousness at all. Because if you don't take the reins and say what else is available, you will only manifest, your reality around you will manifest from the mass consciousness. And there's no new growth or evolution made. It's like that whole consciousness is cycling in its own belief system, and everything that comes through it. The key is to say, thank you, what else is available? Because now you can create new paths out of the labyrinth and create better realities. And what they told me is, have you ever heard of the 100th monkey?
100th monkey effect, yeah.
Yeah, and the book has it at 7%. The A.R. Borden, the head of this reverse engineering division, he said, guess what? The biggest secret kept from humanity, it's not 7%, it's only 3%, which means when 3% of any of us, when 3% of that thought form that approaches trial and tribulation or a new way of doing things is reached, it goes throughout the mass consciousness. So we've been told, what can we do against the machine? You know, what can I do as an individual? Well, guess what, man? It doesn't take too many of us believing in a higher, more love-filled way of viewing it before it spreads throughout the whole mass consciousness.
Creates a ripple effect, yeah.
Yes, yes. By the way, this was a couple of years ago, you know, because he's passed away now. A.R. Borden is, but he said pretty much it would have been, I guess, maybe 7-8 years ago is we passed the 3%. So now it is rippling out. And I know when you look out into reality, it looks ugly, and it is. But man, things can't ever change until the treachery and the bullshit is revealed. You know, and people need to know why big changes to these systems are needed. That if it's not for the whole, if it's for a few elitist 1% for their wallets and the rest of us are left to go to hell, that's not the way. And so if you look at the whole thing, is most people have not breached the 3%. But think of this, man, 3% of 7 billion, I think, is about 300 million people that need to be thinking in a new, higher way before it spreads. Up until you crack that, it's not easy. You are the first, and you're not going to have the support of your friends and your peers and your family. And matter of fact, Team Bad Cop is going to have their way with you. But I want to say, there is no, we're in the age of Aquarius now. Team Bad Cop is not functioning at all the way that they did. It's now, instead of
sloppy, super sloppy.
Well, it's good. You know, here's what I understood and understand, that in the past, their job was, you know, if you went against the crowd and went against the mass consciousness, they were there to beat you back down and kick you in the balls, you know, and teach you being an individual and having your own ideas is not what we're about. And that now, once we came out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, they're still there, but they don't have the same job anymore. Now their job is to, no one can make anyone do it. Everyone's got to go through that door themselves. But now when you stand up for what's right, you're not going to get kicked in the balls or whatever. Man, sometimes I got a really weird brain. I'm like Jack Black, but we're going to leave that alone. But now that same group that was there to teach you a lesson if you went against the mass consciousness, now they can create event strings to make you standing up for what's right work out better than you could have ever imagined. And it'll be effortless, but you got to take that first baby step. For like, no one, it's got to be earned, you know? So with all this, when I look out into the world today, I see treachery being revealed. I see people standing up to the system. And I think it is spreading. This, to me, it's not scary. It's like, me and Sarah were talking about this. I'm like, you know what? Up until very recently, we didn't have the internet and instant communication. This bullshit has been going on forever, but we just didn't know. Now we know. And plus the some interesting things here, man. Population control. Because I know the dark had a depopulation agenda, and we went up against the transhumanists, the ones behind the Georgia Guidestones, and we threw a serious monkey wrench in 2012 into their plans of depopulation. But I can see that they're not wrong in a way.
What was supposed to happen in 2012?
Galactic superwave was heading here from the middle of, a lot of New Agers have been expecting this giant high solar flare. Yeah. It wasn't from our sun. It was coming from the middle of the galaxy, and it was called a galactic superwave. And it was actually revealed through mass media. Remember, they showed a picture of, it looked like two spheres with the Milky Way galaxy like this. And then there's a purple ball and a purple ball. And that is the galactic superwave. And that's just a still frame that they showed. It's in real time, it's moving. It's got spit out from the middle of the black hole at the middle of every galaxy. And every once in a while, this super high energy is burst out of it. And as it travels through the galaxy, everywhere it goes, those, like if a sun was in its middle phase of evolution, it'll shift into its next phase, like from a, whatever, like a brown dwarf or, giant. And, so that wave was reaching us in 2012. And not only that, Nibiru was on a doomsday course. So that's the work I did with the NSA, is they put a team together to make contact with the Anunnaki and ask us up to the table and go, hey, we need some help here. And I can tell you part of that was the news. This is a cool story, man, actually, because they said, listen, we now know. I had a member within the team, and there was 6 of us. So there's 3 teams of 2. And then A.R. Borden was the 7th. And so me and my partner, we had to learn remote viewing and extrasensory techniques to meet each other in a non-physical platform. And it was a pyramid, like Egyptian, and we would all meet each other, and then we had to be able to recognize each other's energy signature. And then once that was confirmed, they called it a handshake. And the way that they did this is really interesting. Like me and my partner, we talked for hours on the phone, all about his life experiences, what he's went through, his feelings about things, and tuning into what that energy signature is. Then through remote viewing, to be able to go to a non-physical platform, both of us would show up, and he could find my energy signature and I could find his. And the technology that they have can confirm whether you had a handshake. Then it went to even be part of this, they had to confirm that you had a handshake with your Anunnaki component. And they called it the incoming kingdom Anunnaki that was, on the Nibiru. And once that was confirmed, then they knew, for instance, they said, Hurricane Sandy, 2012 again, it was being artificially steered into New York. So the team was tasked to ask the Anunnaki for help. And they said, listen, we know you're not a weatherman, but we're going to give you all the accurate scientific data from all the satellites of the trajectory and the force and the power of Hurricane Sandy. You don't need to know what it means. They're going to be looking through your eyes, your Anunnaki component. You're going to be their iPhone. You're going to be their internet connection. They'll know what to do with this data. All you need to do is just place your eyes on it. You don't have to understand it. And those tasking instructions, I've released all this, dude. Everyone's wanting disclosure. I'm like, fuck, excuse my language. Getting it from the the Congress, guess what, man? No. If you really want to get the lowdown on what's truly happening, wouldn't you want to talk to the head of the reverse engineering division that is actually working with the Anunnaki and technology transfer programs? That's who A.R. Borden is. That's the group I was brought into. And all of my learning material that I've received from A.R. Borden at the end of his life, because the transhumanists took him out. He said, you know what, our mission was successful, but we've pissed off the wrong people.
So you essentially saved the world in some kind of respect. With
yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's incredible.
But not only that, I mean, yes, I'm proud of it. But during that time too, there was earthquake Charlotte that happened on the other side of the United States. And that had created a 20-foot wall tsunami that was heading towards Hawaii. And I brought that. I'm like, well, working on Hurricane Sandy, because what they said is we're going to suss you up to the table and ask for help. And we're going to give you the data that they can access through the tasking instructions that contain all this information. But the tsunami was not on the list. I'm like, well, wait a minute, man. You guys know about this? So I brought it in, and tsunami buoys don't lie. There was a 20-foot wall of water heading towards Hawaii. And I've got all the news broadcasts and stuff, and I've shared these as well. But they on the news, they knew it was like in 3 hours it's going to be here. And they took everyone on the island and took them to higher ground and awaited this 20-foot wall of water heading towards the island. Well, when it reached Hawaii, it was only about an inch high. And the storm, Hurricane Sandy, when it came in, it had all the energy removed out of the storm as well. And even with that, with Native American Indians and being a shaman, a medicine man, that's what we use mountains for, is to be able to bring in weather and control weather. And a couple times in my life now, I've brought the rain. And you can heal whole areas of Illuminati dark funk by raining it out. I found out. But
that's incredible. So thankful that you were able to do that. And I think that's
oh shit, the whole point of this, dude, is all of that information that I received from this most secretive NSA group that was doing the reverse engineering, all of that learning material, my first introductory letter from them to me, everything I've released, because at the end, A.R. Borden said, the time for secrecy is over. Share everything with anyone that you can in your network. And so for your listeners, man, you don't have to do anything. Just go to Team Inky, me, sign up for that group on Facebook and go to the files section, man. There's no waiting. There's nothing to pay for. You'll have access to one of the highest libraries of information of the true picture of extraterrestrial contact, Earth history, what they know about. They call it new life physics. Yeah, so and me and the other team members started to realize, you know what? I have maybe a couple that someone else didn't have. They had a couple someone else didn't have. So we decided to share everything. And I put it up through my website, but also you can ask, it's a private group. Mine, Team Inky isn't private. That's why I steer people to it. But there's also the Linkage Institute. And that one I started as well to keep his wish alive. But also the writings of A.R. Borden, because we knew it was important to take all of this information so it doesn't get lost. Let's share it in some multiple libraries and make it accessible. So I'm to the point, man. I know all these UFO researchers, and it's just getting ridiculous. It's the same redundant going over shit, and nothing's being revealed. I want to do an open letter. I guess we're doing it right now, aren't we? Here's my open letter to UFO researchers in the field. Look into who A.R. Borden is. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's so many books, so they're crazy good reads. I've only read I think 2 of them, but there's so many of them. How many books does he have? How many books has he been? Yeah.
I probably have posted maybe about 12 or 13 of them. And some of them, I mean, it's a lot and it's long. And he is a scientist like of a Nikola Tesla.
Very complicated wording, and
when I was brought in, he said, when you go through this stuff, and I'll tell your listeners, he said, have a dictionary and a thesaurus available 24/7, and any word you come to that you don't understand, look up what it means and then get the thesaurus and find out other words that, because it's super deep. I mean, imagine the people that are in technology programs with the Anunnaki, and what they've learned from them scientifically is what's included in this material. For instance, people might know about the wing makers. Well, this is that. When you go to the wing makers and you look into the Dr. Neruda interviews, you'll find out that this is from the ACIO, which is the group that contacted me and brought them. It's real, man. People think it's some kind of mythology. Everything that's in those Dr. Neruda interviews is accurate and is real. So you'll find out about LERM. It's called Light Encoded Reality Matrix. And it's how to manifest physical objects from light and sound into this world, which, imagine what we've been talking about with frequency.
That just reminds me of something I wanted to ask you before I let you go, is because we were messaging back and forth probably a couple of months ago, and I was we were getting into quantum physics and talking about some quantum stuff, and I was trying to move something with my mind. I had a leaf on the table, and I was trying to, because I can basically see the energy signature of almost any item, almost anything. And I was trying to manipulate the energy field around the item to try and make the item move, but I couldn't get it to move. I probably just needed more practice and more time to be able to figure it out. But that's how you would use telekinesis, right? You would try and manipulate the energy field around the item, because every item we have carries a certain kind of vibration, right? The desk has a vibration.
Let me share something with you. This is interesting, because what I learned is dealing with, people create a ball of energy in their hands, and you can move and work with energy. Well, it's definitely one of the grandmothers, and this gets into a deep subject, but it's to answer your question. Chief Golden White Eagle brought through a book called the 1111, the star symbols. Star symbols is almost like, actually, it's exactly what they're doing in the Doctor Strange movies, which I was like, wow. They taught the symbol to actually, I'll teach you right now, and everyone that wants to see this. They said the star symbol for grounding, or as above, so below, is an arrow at the top, and then the shaft, and then the down arrow at that. So the grandmother said, put your hands in the air. Go ahead and do this with me. You'll experience it. Because it gets into how to move that object, and you can get back to us. They said, she said, I want you to draw that symbol in the air, in the ether, but I want you to do it. First of all, she said, feel the energy of the room right now. Okay. Now cup your hand, in my mind, I would say breasts. I told you, man, my brain just ain't right. So you cup your hands. You said, now feel the energy in the room. You feel the difference. So she said, now I want you to draw the grounding symbol with your finger chakra. And she said, you think about it in your third eye as this is a spray paint can. And you make the sound. So when you draw it, you go, psh, 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 psh. And then she said, in the book, that's all you get. It doesn't tell you to actually activate the symbol. You have to put a circle around it. So you go, psh, 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 psh. And then I press it then, like in the ether. Think about what Dr. Strange is doing. It's the same thing. But then she said, now, instead of using your finger chakra like you just did, use your palm chakra with your hand in that palm position and bring the ether, the energy from your palm chakra. So, psh, 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 psh. So you can feel the difference, can't you? Like, I mean, it's like cutting through the ether. The palm chakra is like an energy center that's like this big. It's like huge. Even when you use like Curian photography and look at the photonic light energy that comes out of your palm, your finger is tiny, man. It's like, so the palm is the secret. But then that alone, what I just taught you, is anytime you're having trial and tribulation in your life, or, you know, one of the grandmothers talked to me and she said, son, you're barely even here. Sarah says that to me all the time now. So anytime you need grounding, just do that. And it will bring your higher self down into the, you know, as above, so below. And that is the symbol. Now, the whole book is filled with symbols, and every symbol can be activated. And I've never even I'm like, you know what? Bringing in my higher self right here is good enough for me right now. You know, I can start messing with other ones as well, but
do you do it with both of your hands, or do you just do it with
just one? I mean, you could do maybe two, like do one with this one. I don't. I just do one hand, and I focus right now on that symbol specifically because there's other symbols of protection and healing and whatnot. But I'm thinking, man, if this is the cheat code for bringing your higher self down into the human meat suit, I'm sure you're protected. You know what I mean? Like, do you really even need anything else other than that one symbol? So everyone that's watching this, try it yourself, man. And if it works, you've gained a lot. If it doesn't, you've lost nothing. You know what I mean? What I want to tell people is everything. I'm here just to pass it along, then they'll pass it along. Everything that I've ever done of giving, I've never charged for any of the TV shows I've been on. I don't charge. All my wisdom is free. But if you want a disc or something, then we'll barter. If you don't got nothing to barter, then there's a little charge. I've made it very affordable for people to access this technology.
Where can people let people know where they can buy one of your discs or the shirt?
MichealLeeHill.com. That's it. And
Awesome.
if you want to look at some of the UFO footage, by the way, dude, I'm so excited. I told you I was contacted by the Travel Channel with the new TV show UFO Witness. And so UFO footage is going to become very important here. And if you want to see the UFO footage, go to Micheal Lee Hill YouTube channel, and it's all there waiting for you for free too. And plus a lot of other content. So yeah, MichealLeeHill.com and YouTube channel, Micheal Lee Hill. New podcast coming up, The Lost Nation with MLH. And that should be, once I get it recorded, searchable just by MLH. I want to make it very simple that people that want to tune in and can find it easily. But you're the king of this, man. I want to talk to you just off microphone, obviously, and tap your brain about how to do some of this stuff successfully.
Absolutely. I would love to talk with you about it. And the links to all of Michael's information will be in the description of this video. I highly recommend you go pick up one of these energy discs. It really does make a difference. You can feel the water tastes different. I don't drink it after a certain period at nighttime. I actually keep it on there all night, and then I drink it in
Yeah,
the
that's the
morning
way to do it.
to get it kicking in.
Actually, 7 seconds is all it takes to bring the energy through. But the longer you keep it on there, it focuses the light energy into a laser beam of energy, is what NASA found. They said it's never been seen in any kind of water studies ever. So that's what the biophysicist from NASA, she said, because they tested it, those 3 waters I mentioned earlier, at 15 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes. She said, Michael, I think at 45 minutes with tap water, it's not even done doing its thing. She said every 15 minutes, the light is brighter and more focused. She said it's almost like, picture if you had a magnifying glass and if you're going to burn a leaf, well, the more you bring up the magnifying glass, the smaller, but brighter and more energetic it becomes until it can ignite and burn. That's what it's doing to the light within the water molecule. And think about this, man. That's fire within water. It's light without heat. And that's something to think about. But
yeah, I've made a mistake a couple of times of drinking it really late in the afternoon, and I was up until like 3 or 4 in the morning, and just so I try and just leave it on there at night and drink it in the morning when I wake up. It helps me get energized, but it really does work. And
you know what's great, dude? I don't know if you've tried it, but man, use it to charge your marijuana. I know it sounds stupid, but man, it makes some serious good healing. Marijuana, I found out, is brought here by the Pleiadians. It's Pleiadian medicine, 1 million uses, and it's all positive.
Yeah, I think that a study just came out. I just saw today, I think someone posted it on Facebook, that it had off-world qualities in it or something like that.
Yes,
Study.
marijuana. I said it's actually very odd that most plants on this planet they're not male and female. That's first thing. People don't even think about it, but marijuana is one of the only plants on this planet that there's a male and a female.
Yeah. It's super interesting. Well, thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate your knowledge and wisdom and coming on my show again.
Thank you, man. I love talking to you, bro. God bless and thank you for giving me a chance to share. And peace.
I very much enjoyed it. I loved the conversation, and I'd love to have you back on anytime you want to come on, brother. For anyone else, thanks for watching and listening. Make sure to much love to everyone in the chat. First and foremost, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button, help the channel out, and YouTube algorithm. Share, subscribe, hit the bell icon as well for notifications. Link to my channel on Odysee and Rokfin is in the description. Sign up over there. Hit the follow button for my premium content. You can catch this episode and any of my other episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. You can download them individually on Spreaker.com directly to your device for free. And remember, we're not only in a spiritual war, but a war on humanity. Stay aware, stay alert, keep loving your heart for everyone. Stay safe out there. And if you can see through the illusion, you are the solution. And stay tuned for Micheal Lee Hill's song, Morningstar.
Thank you.